Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'd like to introduce Evangelist Marilyn Dawson, myself, Tammy Gardner. I'm the co-host. Carla Scorpio and Janice Burns are also co-hosts as well. And then tonight we do have a guest speaker, Miss Dawn Blanchard, who I'll introduce here shortly. And then as far as the disclaimer, the views and opinions of the guests and everyone participating do not reflect the views and opinions of the conversation, the ministry, host, or co host. This is a forum to hear storytelling, have discussions, and gain insight of others' life journeys and perspectives. We are clergy, medical, mental health, and social equity professionals, but this conversation is not to be intended to be a source of treatment or therapy to replace or therapist, pastor, or doctor. Rules of the conversation: be respectful of everyone's conversation, limit your remarks to 2 minutes, no negative comments, raise your hand emoji if you want to speak. Everyone is muted until they speak. Everyone's conversation is important, even if it may not be your beliefs. Don't judge others. And tonight's topic is going to be self love and self care. So I'd like to introduce Miss Dawn Blanchard from Indianapolis, Indiana. She's a mental health life coach, publisher, jewelry designer, and a master hair braider.
Yay.
And then Miss Dawn, welcome tonight for conversations. You want to tell us a little
Yay.
bit about yourself?
Thank you. How are you, Tammy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for that preload to all the things that I do. As you said, I am a jewelry designer, life coach, mental health coach, master braider, master loctician. I am a publisher. I also am finishing up my master's degree in mental health counseling. If you think long enough, I'll probably add some more to that. Oh, I'm a poet and a writer as well. So just some of the things that I do.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm.
Well, since you're beginning to talk about what you do, we so excited about what you have for us tonight. Let's talk about self-love, self-care. Now, how did you get started in that?
I have been doing this for 30 plus years, and I always realized coming from a line of uh, different forms of abuse that something had to be better. And a lot of that always ended back up with self love and self care. Let me go back a couple of steps. First and foremost, most people misunderstand what self care and self love is.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to think just because you go get your hair done, your nails done, things like that on a regular basis, that's self care. That's self maintenance. Nobody can take care of you better than you, making sure that you are together. That's a wonderful thing. And there are a lot of women that put that to the side or don't even do it because they don't have time. Their finances go somewhere else. That's self maintenance. When you talk about self care and self love, you have to remember that we have to think about the magic word self. So coming from a lot of abuse, like I said, I never put myself first. So that's how that stream of abuse gets started. We somehow or another end up with low self-esteem, letting ourselves be manipulated to the point that we believe that we don't matter, which takes us back to self. So in doing that, I did all the work to be able to get myself back to where I realized I did matter. I matter first and I matter the most because if I don't put myself first, I can't take care of everybody else. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have when it comes to self care and self love. One thing that I'm real adamant about from this point forth, and I've been talking about it for a few years now, as women, we got to stop talking about I'm a superwoman. I'm sorry, I don't want to be a superwoman. I want to be able to handle the things that I'm supposed to, but guess what? As a superwoman, most times that means I'm handling entirely too much. We take on as much as we possibly can take on, and then we turn around and take on some more. That's not
My
being a
mind.
servant. That wears us out. And that's why, if you think about it, women have issues with blood pressure. We have issues with, there are more women that have fibromyalgia than men could ever think about having. It's, I mean, medically, they say women get it the most. And that's because we're constantly piling on and piling on and piling on. And it takes us back to what happened to self-care and self-love. If you love yourself, you're not going to continuously allow all these other things to take advantage of you or beat you down or overwork you or stress you out. But if you don't understand what self-love is or self-care is, that's exactly what you do.
My. That's deep. That's deep. Why do you think we do that, Don?
It comes with a long line of antics that have been passed down and passed down. We as women have always been the caregivers of everybody else. And when you think about it as mothers, regardless if you have children or not, most women, regardless if they have ever given birth, they become some form of a mother figure to somebody, whether it's a mentor on their job. We have always been that. And because of that, we didn't know how to do that little bitty word that's two letters. We didn't know how to say no. So eventually it just kept building and kept building and kept building. Yes, we are the providers. A house cannot exist without a mother or a woman in the house. That's how we were always taught. The woman is the cook. She is the one that provides. She is the nurturer. Yes, we are the only ones that can give life, but there's a fine line to that. Women not knowing how to say no, not knowing when to say, I can't handle this, or I have enough on my plate. For us to be able to take care of us, see, there's a question that I ask a lot of young ladies when I do this seminar on self-love and self-care. I always ask them, who matters first? What's the most important thing? Is it you or your children? 99% of the people raise their hand and you know what they say? My children come first. That is one of the biggest mistakes you can ever make. I love my children, my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. I love all of them. But if I put my children first, I'm going to wear myself out. I'm going to be so thin that I can't do anything, sick or whatever have you, because I'm taking care of everybody else. Can I really take care of the kids properly? But if I understand what self-care and self-love is, and I'm taking care of me first, I'm going to be the best I can be to give them the best that they can be. See, everybody's so quick to say, oh, my kids come first. Well, this is the thing. You got to make sure that you're putting yourself first and that you love who you are as a person, first and foremost, to be able to provide the best for everybody else. But when you give to everybody else and you let yourself fall to pieces, your health, your physical, and everything is falling apart, does that show that you really love yourself?
No.
Exactly.
That's
You
deep.
got to
That's
make
deep.
sure
That's
that you
deep.
take care of you.
Wow. Do you love yourself?
Exactly. Which
Wow.
self-care and self-love come back to the fact of too many people have always put everybody else first. So as most people know, I believe that before I got into mental health counseling, I did Christian counseling. And it says in the Bible, and I'm gonna read the scripture because I'll be the first one to say I'm not the greatest with memorizing scripture sometimes because I have so many going. But I will tell you this: when it comes to self-care and self-love, the Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. Proverbs 4:23. If we are
Wow.
not taking care of us, of self, you cannot do all these other things.
You
And
better
that's
say
where it
so.
starts.
What was that scripture? Proverbs 4:23.
Yes, Proverbs 4:23.
Thank you. I'm putting it on out there.
I mean, it talks about we must guard ourselves. We must guard and nourish and take care of ourselves. Um, we got to get back to that because that's also a lesson. If you are making sure that you are well taken care of, you're nourishing your body, you're guarding your heart, and you're making sure you're okay, don't you think that's what you're going to teach your children to do? It
Wow.
also helps us break that cycle of our children seeing because our children are taught what they see. Our kids are not born with hate, they're not born abusive, they're not born to be mean, but if they see that, that's all they know.
Wow. That's
I've
true.
had parents tell me when you ask them, well, why do you whoop your children that way? Well, that's what our parents did to us. But then I have to ask them, but does that make it right? Just because our parents did it, do we keep that cycle going?
Can you hear it?
I was that child that went through, and my mother disciplined me. I got whoopings and everything. But I knew that I can actually sit down and tell you the difference between discipline and abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all these things spear off of how do we take care of self? How do we love who we are? Because that's where it starts. As a
Mm.
mother who loves herself, cares for herself, is she's going to teach her kids that. She's going to teach her kids that guess what? You do not accept less. You do not settle. You make sure that people treat you a certain way.
Mm.
People love you a certain way. Without that, then we don't have anything. And that's how
Wow.
these
That's
cycles
right.
keep going.
Wow. So you think that a lot of this is coming from our slave trauma?
Um, I think some of it does come from the slave trauma, and then some of it comes from us not knowing our slave history.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh
there
yeah.
are
Not
some
knowing who you are.
not knowing
Okay.
who you are, because there are some African tribes where the women were the ones that ran the tribe, that they held a sense of power. It is not the way society has been taught. It is not the way media puts it out there that um, our African heritage is a woman gets disrespected or isn't liked or mistreated. And that's not it. I've been there. I've been to places. Now you have abuse and you have ignorance in every part of this world. But
Wow.
I've seen how the family structure is, and I've seen how the women were treated, and I'm thinking, this isn't what they put on TV. So if we understand, as you said, where we come from and the value that we hold as people, then we would value ourselves a little more. And that's one of the things that we've lost. How do we actually value ourselves?
Yeah. Wow. 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 That's a big question right there.
Because if you don't know that you have a certain level of value and worth, guess what? Are you going to take care of yourself properly?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of women that run around thinking it's the greatest thing to say, I'm a superwoman. Well, I'm going to let you have that title because guess what? I don't want it.
I
It's no,
tried it and I lost.
I didn't done it. I didn't done it. I didn't raise kids as a divorced mother. I've raised grandkids because things trying to help out their parents. And I've done all these things. No, I don't want to be a superwoman where I have, and people ask me now, they're like, well, you're a superwoman now. Look at all the jobs that you have. All the jobs I have are because these are the things that I love to do. My
Wow.
peace of mind is creating jewelry. My peace of mind is sitting by the ocean writing poetry. My peace
Wow.
of mind and something that feeds my soul is being able to tell somebody, you're a good writer. I'll publish your books for you.
Wow.
Being
You
able
want
to
to do that.
exactly being able to create a hairstyle. You can come to me and tell me I want my hair to look just like this, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going for. But when it's finally finished, it's a creation of its own. The
Yeah.
beauty of
Art.
the techniques, the art itself. So that all comes to life. That's because I love doing it. I've retired from the hair business at least 3 times, but I keep going back to it because I miss that creativity. So me having 5 or 6 side hustles, jobs, or whatever you want to say they are, is because those are things that I like to do. That's why, as a child, I was always told when you work at something that you really, really like to do, it's like not having a job at all.
Wow. Now that's true.
Mental
Very
health,
true.
mental health is something that I believe in because I believe that people forgot that we have a voice, specifically
Yeah.
women and children, that we have a voice. Men have a voice. They just need to learn how to express it. But speaking from a woman's perspective and dealing with children and raising children, they have a voice. They should not be silenced.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that got me even more into mental health. I believe that if we give them a voice, that we can break the cycles of abuse. We can break the cycles of hatred. Hatred is just like a garden. As long as you keep watering it, it's going to keep growing. Where
Absolutely.
we're at now, hatred is not going to stop because we're still watering that garden.
Ooh, that's ugly to think about, especially with November coming up.
Exactly. But you have people still watering that garden.
Wow.
And a lot of those people have forgot about self and putting it in somebody else's hand.
Wow. So you think if people were more self-in tuned, if more people loved themselves, then we wouldn't see as much chaos.
Exactly.
Well, if they love themselves, then it's going to be easy to love others.
Exactly. And love is one of the strongest emotions that we can have. And it's the safest emotion because it takes you the other direction from hate. But if people love themselves, if people were more secure or more open to taking help from other people and realizing there's one race. You can keep saying the black, the white, the Hispanic, this, and this, but at the end of the day, it's one race. It's the human race.
Yeah,
And
that's a
that's where
good way to
we're
say it.
all right, that's where we're at. But if we took that time to look into ourselves more and more in tune with who we are, we wouldn't be looking at a politician or these so-called leaders that have been placed in office to make magic happen. Too many people want them to take over and do this, and this. Well, guess what? What about you? What part are you playing in it? See, there's
Wow,
levels to
that's
this.
deep.
Everybody
That's
plays
deep.
their part.
They
But
should.
if you think me, Tammy, and Marilyn are gonna sit on the sideline and say, "Yep, I vote for him," he gonna handle it all. Guess what? The three of us in trouble because we wait for him to handle it all. Whereas if we can say, "I want to vote for the best candidate. What can I do to assist this candidate? How can I teach the principles that this candidate believes in, or help these candidates along?" Nobody does that. We're not in
Yeah.
tune with loving ourselves and wanting the best for ourselves and self-care. It starts there.
Wow. Lack of self-awareness and self-knowledge and self-love.
Yep, all
So,
of them go hand in hand.
wow. So what does that person look like that does that?
That does have all those things.
Mm-hmm.
A person like that is a person that I would say has done the work. See, I used to be on the other side of that. I didn't have the self-love. I didn't have the self-care. I didn't have the work. Now I do. Now I know how to utilize the word and know that it's not a bad word to be able to say no. I know how to say I've been to work. I tell my clients, use these are things that you can use to help you out. When you get off work, when you get to your car and you drive home, sit in your car for 5 or 10 minutes. Turn off the radio, turn off the car, just sit. Decompress before you go in the house. And you know what? Slowly but surely, you'll realize that you're leaving all that mess that happened at work right there in that parking lot, right there in your driveway. You're not taking it inside with you.
Yeah.
We have to learn to decompress and put ourselves first. If you are getting off work, you had a bad day at work, and you're going home, and you have children at home, and you're taking all the mess that you had that day home to your house, it's not going to turn out good. It's usually
Yep.
a level of continuous frustration. But if you sit for 5 or 10 minutes and just breathe and just listen to silence, you can decompress and slowly but surely learn how to disconnect. My day is over. Whatever happened at work stays at work. Now let me go in and be loving to my children, not go in screaming and hollering, this hasn't been done, that hasn't been done. When we start doing those type of things and decompressing ourselves and being able to address situations when they happen, not accepting. Number two, we
Wow.
accept too much. We accept too many. Well, I'm sorry that happened, but oh well. No, no is
That's
no.
good.
And guess what? Being able to say, this is as much as I can handle right now. I can't take anymore and cutting people off. It's okay to cut people off that are not bringing you a healthy environment.
Yeah,
A
you
lot of
have to
people
have
get mad.
discernment about who you have
Oh, yeah.
in your circle. You have to
But a
have a
lot of people get
discernment.
mad because they say, well, that's family. Okay, I know how to love family from a distance. Families living in some uncharted waters right now, keeping a lot of hoopla going. I don't want to be bothered with that. I need my self love. I need my peace. I need my quiet zone. It's okay to request that and take it. But if you
It's,
are
it's,
constantly
it's
keeping a whole
absolutely
lot of stuff going
necessary.
on, what'd you say, Marilyn?
I said it's absolutely necessary.
It is, but a lot of people don't know how to do that. So I've done the work. So to see somebody that's in a place that I love myself, I care about myself, is a wonderful thing because I know there are times that I can say that I didn't. Women who want to be in relationships, so you accept whatever instead of loving yourself enough to say, you know what, I would love to be in a relationship, but what I'm going to do is want the best for me and not accept anything just because that's all that's there. Or I'm
Wow.
not going to accept you treating me any old kind of way just to say that I'm in a relationship. How much
Well,
value
some
does that
people call it
relationship?
love. Some people are calling that love. If they treat them
Well, this
bad
is
or whatever, they love them.
yeah, but that's a whole nother ball game. That still goes back to understanding what the words mean. Are you in love or are you in love with the word being in love? See, there are a
Wow.
lot of people that are in love with just the idea of being in love. There are people that are in love with being married, but they don't have the first clue of what that means.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
a
you
deep
don't
thing.
understand what those words mean, then you can't really act upon them the right way.
Maybe that's what's happening in so many people's lives and marriages right now. Because, like you said, the family and stuff is in chaos.
Oh, yeah, the family is in chaos. For one, they've got away from allowing society dictate to them what the family structure is. And um, I was always taught there's God, there's the father, the mother, and then the children. And
Yeah.
because we have children telling their parents what to do, it's going to be chaos.
Oh yeah.
When you have mothers and fathers disagreeing in front of the children, you're going to have chaos. When you're going to have parents that don't stand together to raise their children properly, you're going to have chaos. But when you have a mother and father that love each other dearly, they don't have to agree all the time because no two people do. But when they agree to sit down and discuss how they're going to raise their children, and they do that together, then the children have more order. The children know how to love themselves. The children know how to care for themselves a certain way. But when kids see a lot of discord and disorderly nonsense and chaos, guess what? That's what they go to school with.
That's what they what?
Go to school with.
That's what those kids go to school with.
They
I
go to
used to be an
school with it?
elementary teacher.
Explain that.
I used to be an elementary teacher, and
Oh Lord.
I had to tell them most of these kids see more than we see before they even get to school. So the kids that
Wow.
are seeing the abuse in the home, the lack of food, the lack of sleeping space, the lack of a lot of love or self care, or having to wear the same uniform every day, not being fed properly, they come to school, and those are the kids that commit that either shut themselves off, or
Wow.
those are the kids that commit a lot of chaos in the school because their lifestyle is chaos.
Wow.
So you have to get to the root of what is causing this. Don't too many people want to say, oh, that's just a bad kid. That kid was not born bad. What has
Woo!
happened that has caused that child to be chaotic or feeling that he can be combative with an adult? I'm sorry, I was a kid that was brought up in a loving. My grandmother was always loving, even when my mother wasn't or couldn't be. My grandmother was, so I saw what that was. So I never have even at the age I am now, thought about being disrespectful to an adult. These children see so much chaos at home and outside of the school that when they get to school, they don't know no other way but to be chaotic.
Wow, that's deep. I had never thought about it like that. And those kids in them unsafe neighborhoods where you probably don't even really get the rest at night and stuff, so they're coming in tired.
Oh,
And
yeah.
wow,
I mean, I've had
that's why self
kindergartners.
care is going to be important to teach even in the elementary levels.
Oh, yes. I've had first graders and second graders come to me and say, well, Mommy said I had to get rid of all the white stuff if the police ever came to the house. Or when I get home, I have to put my blanket somewhere, wherever I'm going to sleep. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, we have to find a spot. And so many of us, we pick a spot each night. So you put your blanket or your pillow there, and that's your sleeping space.
Oh my gosh, I never
Kids
thought
that are
about that.
kids that are late for school in the morning and the school has policies where they can't eat breakfast after a certain time. And I understand you have to have policies in the school, but you also have to look at the reality of your students. Some of those kids are coming to school and they don't get there to 9:30, 10 o'clock. They're starving because guess what? The last time they ate was lunch the day before. Some
Wow.
kids only eat breakfast and lunch at their school. So
Huh?
this is where the lack of care and love come in and the trickle down effect that it crosses all these different areas.
That's
Wow.
definitely true. I remember one of my kids' friends when they were in elementary school came to our house one day after school, and I was like, "Do you want something to eat?" And then when I saw how much he was eating it really fast, I was like, "Okay, do you want some more?" And he ate some more. And then when I took him home, I was like, "Okay, well, I fed him dinner if that's okay." And he was like, "Okay." He didn't need to eat dinner. His dad didn't even care if he ate dinner or even know that he was at my house or cared. I hated to even take
Mm-hmm.
him back there.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's what happens. So when you talk about self-love and self-care, it trickles down into our children in so many different areas that if we don't start addressing top part of that family, then the bottom is going to keep falling apart.
Wow. So if you had two parents that love themselves first, God first, then love themselves in God's temple first, and then they practice self-care, just took good care of themselves and let the kids see them taking good care of themselves, then you have a wholly different child that comes to school then.
You have a totally different child. And I saw those kids. I saw those kids. I have friends who had those kids. That the children have been taught. They have seen some chaos. They have seen some dysfunction, but the basis of their rearing up, they had a bed to sleep in. They had meals. They had parents that showed them some love and care.
Wow.
And when they got to school, they didn't have a problem with trying to learn because they knew what the purpose was for them being there. But like I tell
Oh,
people, if a child that went through all this chaos the night before, do you really think they come to school to learn tomorrow?
wow.
Some of them are coming to school to find a safe place and get a
Wow.
meal.
Oh, Lord. Now
So
that's
this is
deep.
where so this is where self-care and self-love is it shows you how important it is for these adults to have it. And as women, we have to have that. A woman that has been abused, that has been drained of everything that she has, she's steadily trying to give to her children. How can she really give them 100% if she doesn't have it herself?
Yeah, drained. She's drained.
Right. And that's why I tell some women, you know what? A relationship is something that you want. Marriage may be something that you want, but we're gonna try this one thing that's more important first and foremost, and that's being by yourself. Be by
Yep.
yourself and learn how to love you. That's a whole factor in itself.
Yep.
Actually spending time by yourself and learning how to love you. Now, I do tell some women, you might not like yourself all the time, and that's okay, but you love yourself through the storm. You don't
Wow.
have to like yourself all the time, but you love yourself through it all. Because guess what? I'm gonna love myself until I can get better. I'm gonna love myself when nobody else loves me. I'm gonna
Wow.
love myself so that I can protect me. Because if I love myself, you best believe I'm gonna not let you abuse me. If I love myself, you're not going to be able to mistreat me the way that you are. If I love myself the right way, you're going to speak to me a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, if you speak to me the wrong way, oh, it's okay if they talk like that. No, it's not. It's okay to be frustrated. But if you don't love yourself a certain way, you allow any and everything to happen to
Wow. That's totally deep. Well, the thing that helps me in my daily life practice is just knowing that I love myself and that I'm loved by God.
you. Mm-hmm.
There's no greater love, no
Mm-hmm.
greater love than Him. And so, even when I was in my darkest days and stuff, just to know that I still are loved, and it gave me that hope. And I guess that's what, if you don't love yourself, if you don't care for yourself, I guess it means that you're feeling sort of hopeless or something. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I would agree. You get to that place of hopelessness. And if you're a parent and you're in a hopeless state, how
Oh
beneficial are
my,
you being to your children?
what? That's deep right there. Yeah, but so many of these younger parents are, they telling me that they're hopeless. They don't feel like they have any life ahead of them or whatever. And
Because
so,
nobody has taught them how to love themselves first. See, it
wow.
starts with loving yourself first. And if you can't love yourself, then I mean, it's cliche when they say it, but it's the truth. If you can't love yourself, how you expect somebody else to love
Wow.
you? People see how you treat yourself.
Oh,
So if other people are seeing you mistreat you, what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to treat you the right way.
well, that's a profound statement. People see how you treat yourself. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but so many people mask it. So many people camouflage how they really are and how they keep themselves. A lot of people will show up with designer everything, hair done, groom stuff, everything, but then they go back home hating themselves and everything in their life. So how, I mean, how do you like really talk to someone that's camouflaged?
A lot of people camouflage themselves, but this is the thing. You can only keep a facade for so long. So that camouflage ain't going to last long. And as long as you are genuine, 9 times out of 10, when you're genuine and showing somebody love and care, guess what? They either want it, so they listen, or they stay away from you because they're not ready.
Wow. They want it, they listen, or they stay away from you. Wow.
They
That's
will
some
stay away
profound
from you.
stuff.
It's just like somebody who has bad energy or is negative all the time. If everybody in our group is constantly talking positive and speaking of God's blessings and things of this nature, they don't want. Oh, y'all ain't talking about nothing. They can leave. They don't want
Yeah,
to hear that.
yeah. But that's a healing moment, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that facade can only go on for so long.
I don't know. I see people and they're hidden so much, but you can tell, well, if you're discerning that this is really a miserable person. They're beautiful and they're all decked out, but they're miserable in their heart.
Hmm. And the only thing you can do with those type of people is continue to pour into them
And
the
to love them.
positive that
Yeah.
you have. And as
And
long
love
as you
them.
keep doing that, eventually it's either going to crack and all that negativity is going to fall to the wayside, or they'll reach out and ask for help because they really need somebody to help them. Um, or somebody will see them and help, because
Wow.
some have worn themselves out. Oh yeah, it's the person that every time you see them from head to toe, they laid out, hair, makeup, car, everything looks good, diamonds. I mean, flashy, everything. But nobody ever goes to that person's house.
Oh,
Nobody ever sees them behind closed doors,
wow.
because behind closed doors they got to take that mask off.
Wow.
The loneliness, the heartache, the heartbreak, all of that is behind closed doors.
Wow. They have to come in and live with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but self-discovery helps you to understand how beautiful and wonderfully and fearfully wonderful as the word says. But maybe
Exactly.
somebody has to show you the word and teach you how
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, fiercely, wonderfully made you are.
That you are. Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be something that a family should be doing to each other then. Talk on that family role in that, please.
But if that family role is broken down and has not been addressed, then you have even more dysfunction.
Oh,
So
Lord.
when you have a lot of this, oh, we're living in a world of chaos right now because we
Well,
have so
absolutely.
many levels of dysfunction. The family unit has been broken down. We were raised, and somebody said it best the other day. We were talking about it, and they were talking about the fact that family reunions have turned into only men at the funeral. That's where we have our family reunions now, at funerals.
Oh, my
A
gosh.
lot of the ancestors and our grandmothers and great grandmothers that kept the families together, they died. A lot of the aunts and uncles, people in my age range, a lot of those elders that kept the family together, they've died. And the people that are stepping into place are so discontent with each other that the family structure is broken.
Wow.
So, as I tell people, what really has broken us more than anything is there's no more hand me downs. So, the hand me down of the recipes, the hand me downs of the lessons, the hand me downs of how to respect one another, the hand me downs of guess what? These are your cousins. You love them no matter what. They're just like your brother and sister. Your aunts and
Wow.
uncles, the respect, all those things have changed. Not that it can't go back, but we have to acknowledge that we need that. We need that old school life. We need the aunts and the uncles and the parents that cared, that rallied around the kids to make sure that they had these lessons and the talents in the families were passed down. We don't have that now.
Yeah. Wow. So we have to revive, it sounds like, the storytelling, the passing down of history and things that our ancestors did.
Yeah, we need to be able to revive that. We need to be able to pass those stories down and teach those lessons the same way they were taught to us. The level of respect. Because, see, our elders made sure that the little kids knew how to respect the great, great elders. Not today. It's too many
Hmm.
kids running around calling their parents by their first name.
Well, that's true. This really has changed.
We had family structure. So we need to get back to that family structure and having that family bond and love and respect. Um, a lot of sorries need to be said. A lot of apologies need to be said and fences mended to be able to have that structure that we once had.
Wow.
Because the way that we're doing it now, and that's the same way the African culture is. The elders are respected. The elders weren't for nothing. They're treated a certain way. The children are rallied around and made sure to take care of.
Wow. So they still have family structure.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah. The slave thing sort of dissolved that in this country because we typically were made to not like each other, not to
Well, I
help
mean that
each
was
other.
real. Yeah, that was real easy when you think about the fact of that I learned one thing, one really important thing when I was going to Ghana and the history lessons that I've taken while I've been going back and forth, understanding what slave trade means. So when the slaves were brought here, they were promised, they were taken out to ships and promised that they were coming here for a better life. Just like we see now with people that bring immigrants, human trafficking now. Human trafficking is the new version of slavery. That's all it really is. Um, but these were all people that spoke different languages. We have to understand that it's not necessarily that we were brought here and we were taught to dislike each other. We could not communicate with each other. For one, when the slaves first got here, they were from all different tribes. How are they going to communicate?
Wow.
There's no way for them to communicate. So a lot of people you've heard people make jokes or say wisecracks about, well, they didn't try to go back, or why didn't they try? They had no knowledge. Most of the Africans that were taken as slaves, the ones that survived, made it here. There were a lot of them that killed themselves because they were afraid of the water. There were a lot of them that never made it when they made it to the ship because of the poor conditions. When I say they were afraid of the water, everybody thinks because Africans are in Africa that they love the water and they swim and everything. They do now. But back then, a lot of the first slaves that were taken, they were taken from the inner land. They weren't taken from the outskirts where the water was. They had never seen water. They were taught that
Wow.
the water was the devil. So when they saw that they were being taken out to that water, they were jumping off the boats.
Wow. Yeah, they probably beat them before they put them on there.
But the thing of it
But
is,
we
if
need to
you're
know
afraid
our
of the water
history
to
that the
begin
people
with,
who got here were
you're afraid
strong.
that where you're going, they're taking you someplace that you've been taught to be afraid of. And then there's certain ones that told the stories of we're going to take you to a better place where you can have this and you can have that, but they're taking you into slavery.
Wow. So all of that just leads us to all of this dysfunction.
This dysfunction, this lack of knowledge of who we are and understanding who we are. And like I tell people, it's a lot more to learn if we take time to understand. And now I know why people used to say, my grandmother used to say, if you don't know where you came from, you're not going to know where you're going. That holds so much truth to it, but it's even deeper than what we could have ever imagined. We need to understand who we are as a people, even as African Americans.
Yep.
We wouldn't have cell phones if it wasn't for African American. We wouldn't have lights if it wasn't for African American. We wouldn't have so many things. Just looking at the inventions from African Americans, why do we look down upon ourselves? Why are we not caring and having the proper self love and self care for ourselves with everything that we've accomplished and that we do?
Yeah. Wow. That is a big question. Why aren't we taking care of ourselves?
We've been taught to be selfish.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of the
Explain
main
that.
problems that we have. We have been taught that I care, I matter, not I love myself, not my family care matters, but that individual. That's why you can have so many adults that mistreat their own children. So many people mistreat each other because it's all about that individual. There's a disconnect. You have a family, you have a bond. When you think about self, it's only one. And that's how we end up mistreating each other and not having the love and care that we should have for each other out of respect. We don't have any of that. We go into things not liking people, total strangers, people that you've never met before. You dislike them. Why? You don't know them. So that's where that selfishness comes in. Instead of thinking about the gamut of people, the structure of family, we think about self. I want this all for me. It's all about me. I've
Wow.
seen mothers go out and spend a fortune on themselves, look like they just walked out of $1 million salon, and their kids look like they barely spent a penny on.
Wow. I've seen that too.
That's where
So
that
that's
selfishness
selfishness.
comes in.
That's not self-love. That's selfishness.
Yes. And that's what we've been taught.
Yeah, we're all little isolated islands looking out for ourselves.
Hmm. Because we've also been taught to not trust each other.
That's the big one right there.
All of
You
that
can't
comes
be
in
conquered
because
if you trust each other.
if I trust you, that means I love you. If I trust you and I love you, I care about you. We're taught not to trust. So if I don't trust you, I don't love you, and I can't care about
Well, I guess so many people are afraid to get hurt and burned or whatever you want to call it. They're afraid of pain and suffering at the expense of other people.
you. But if you do
That's
things
what
the right
Jesus
way,
is a
the
good
pain and
example.
suffering is not, it's still a gamble. It's always going to, that chance of it happening is always going to be there. But guess what? I'd rather be looking at one or two red flags than constantly looking at 1,000 red flags. If I
Wow.
treat myself right and I know I'm not going to let somebody mistreat me, one or two red flags might get past me. But people are dealing with the fact that they see 1,000 red flags and they still say, "Oh, but I love him." How with the 1,000 red flags? I mean, come on now. You got
You're right
red
on
flag
point
after
there.
red flag after red flag, but you still say, "Oh, but I love him." Really?
You don't love yourself. You don't love yourself. So if you
Exactly.
don't love yourself, you let or do anything for somebody else to love you.
No. So these are all the things that are breaking down our family structure. And without them, guess what? Yeah, mhm, it's hard. It's not going to work.
Wow. So how do you instill self-love into yourself? And then what do you do for self-care?
Me for self care is I spend time with me. That traveling is a wonderful self care thing. A lot of the
Yeah.
times I travel, people don't realize it, but I actually travel by myself.
Do
The
you?
majority of the time, yes. A
I
couple
love
years ago,
solo.
I went to the Dominican and I enjoyed it so much. I said, you know what? I'm coming back. I went back for spring break, went back for a week and enjoyed it. Spent some time with the locals, had so much fun. I went back for the whole month of June. Stayed for 30 days by myself. And everybody's like, weren't you afraid? Afraid of what? When you bored? When you lonely? I don't need nobody to validate me. I like me. I can spend time with me. Well, it goes back to what I said. If we don't get to the point that we like us, you can't love and like everybody else around you.
Wow. You really can't.
You
Well, you
can't.
can
It starts
pretend.
with you.
You can live a fake life.
Exactly. So I
So
do a lot
being
of things that
authentic.
bring
You have to be authentic.
authenticity is one of the best things that you can have. I do things that I like to do. I like to travel by myself. I like to be alone sometimes. Then sometimes I like to be around people and I like to talk. And I love food. I do things that I like. I don't have a problem with telling you I don't want to do that. I learned that the most powerful word in the world is no.
Mm.
And I learned how to use it because at one
Oh,
time
good.
I was just the opposite. I let everybody wear me so thin that guess what? By the time I was in my late 30s, early 40s, I had had my first heart attack.
No, you
I had my
didn't.
first heart attack in 2004, and then I had my next one right before I turned 50. And I
What?
realized that I had put everybody else before me, that I had to stop. That's why I say when I talk about self care, self love, being authentic and trusting, and how do you love, and all these different things, I had to do the work first. I don't talk about anything that I don't know, that I
Wow.
have not done the work. And I'm constantly researching these things on a regular basis because these topics are always evolving.
Yeah. The thing
They're
is that
always
people
evolving.
don't know
So
if
you
you
have
don't
to
take
be
care of
able to be
yourself,
genuine.
then yeah, don't without self-care and self-love, then you can pose a lot of illnesses and things on your body because it takes its
Oh,
toll,
yeah.
like you say.
And I was that person that thought, oh, my kids came
It
first and I
affects your
love
health.
them to pieces and I put everybody else first. And in 2004, I had that first heart attack. And I was like, yeah, this ain't right. Something's not right here.
Wow. Well, you're traveling and living
And
a good
mine
life now.
wasn't
So we so thankful that your time had not come and that you're still here right now at this time trying to talk to people and
exactly.
encourage them. Yeah.
But you know, when I had, Sister Marilyn, when I had that first heart attack, I sat in the hospital and they were trying to figure out why. What caused me to have a heart attack? They ran all these tests and they kept saying, we don't know what's wrong with her. How did that happen? So they were going to send me home. And they said, okay, you're fine. I'm okay. Come back. They did that last ran blood, and the lady came back in. She said, oh, I forgot to put your name on it. I was like, okay, go put my name on it. She said, no, we got to take the blood all over again because the blood had, you a nurse, it had left the room. So she didn't label it. So they had to take it again. Took it again. She said, you can go ahead and get dressed. You're going home. Everything's fine. 20 minutes later, all these people come rushing in the room. Oh, they had taken my troponin numbers and found out I had a heart attack. So after
Wow.
that, they said, we're going to rush it and take you back to figure out. They were going to do heart catheterization and everything. So I'm sitting in the bed. My parents, everybody that came to the hospital, and I'm sitting there just having me a good old time in the hospital. And I'm like, okay, what's next? What are we gonna do? And I'm literally sitting there doing this, and everybody's like, "Are you sure you're okay?" The nurse over here is talking about maybe she's in shock. I said, "No, I'm not in shock. I'm okay." They said, "No, seriously, you just had a heart attack." I said, "I know." I said, "But let me tell y'all a little secret. When I got the pains in my back, I was sitting in the bed, middle of my bed, Indian style, studying my Bible. I said, I truly believe, and I'm not that person that can study 1 or 2 pages. If I start reading something and it gets good, I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to keep reading. So I may study 10, 20 chapters at one time. So I
Wow.
was reading and then I got the pain across my back. And I said, nope, this ain't right. I stretched. I said, nope, that's not right. 5 minutes later, I was on my way to the hospital. I said, I truly believe that God gave me a sign that said, go to the hospital now and do what needs to be done.
Wow.
I'm okay. I truly believe that I'm in God's hands right now. So y'all worried, but I'm not. I left that hospital, them putting unknown, because they didn't know why I had a heart attack.
Wow.
No blood pressure, no blockage, no nothing. It was, that was in 2004. 13 years later, when I had my heart attack, and they found out that what I have is really, really small arteries. They're not mature.
Oh.
As the doctor said, you have baby arteries. They're not mature yet. I was like, oh, I've been grown for a long time. And they did. It took 14 years later for them to find out what I actually had. But I truly believe that God had me at that time. And I was okay. So I wasn't worried. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't anything. And that's what I tell people. When you are connected and you do the work on you, and I'm asking God to help me through this situation to learn how to love and care for myself better, He made sure it happened.
Yeah. So you practice a faith practice too.
Hmm?
I said you practice a faith practice too.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Look, that faith has to be, because I know there's been many a times that I was left in the wilderness by myself. So I had to have faith in God to be able to be brought out and learn the
Wow.
lessons that I needed, and to be able to. When I talk to women, when I do my seminars, I always ask God, first and foremost, give me the words that I am to say. And I will
Yep.
tell women sometimes, don't ask me to say that again now, because, this is not me. God gives me the right things to say or to guide what I'm supposed to tell people. That's why when I tell people it's all about loving yourself first and starting there, I truly believe that. And the Bible says that we're supposed to, God's word says we are supposed to guard our hearts and take care of self. Got to.
Wow. You do just like you say. I
Yeah.
believe we all have a voice. I am a life mental health coach, and as I complete the final steps to my master's in mental health counseling, your mother, grandmother, and great grandmother that believes that God's intention is love. Girl,
That's it. I truly
and we
believe it.
all
And if
hold the
we
keys
get
to
back
our
to
self
that,
care and self love. Yep. God's
if we can get
intention
back
is
to
love.
love, if we can get back to God's love, guess what? We'll be okay.
Yes, we will. God says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were brought with a price. Isn't that something? A price.
Hmm.
Therefore, honor God with your bodies.
And
Self
that means
love,
take
self
care of
care.
it.
Honor is
Hmm.
God's temple. He wants to dwell in you. And so that's just so amazing. That God's intention is love. That's my big takeaway.
Yep,
Tammy?
that's it.
My big takeaway is a lot of stuff you were saying was resonating with me and ringing a bell about the self care. Because, of course, everyone's always going to want to say my kids and everybody else first. It's hard to change it, but knowing
Hmm.
that, like, at least you can start the process, make that
Exactly.
second decision.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as we come up on the final few minutes, any other thing that you want to tell us, or tell us about what you're doing, or how we can reach you, or whatever.
I think you have my email address. I didn't see it on there. I meant to put it on there. My
Oh,
email address is darrenrenee.live. Um, anybody
dot
need
live.
dot live dot live. Yep,
Oh, live.
darrenrenee.live.
You are dot live. Yep.
That would be me. So
Yep.
yep, that's it. Being able to email me, let me know if you need help with something. As a life coach, mental health coach, that's what I am here for. I tell everybody that first session is always free to be able to tell you if I can help you or if I need to direct you to somebody who has more or different experience than I have. I don't have a problem with saying that. I know there are a lot of people in this field that know we need to be able to reach out to each other and help each other. My phone number is on my webpage. If anybody wants to text me, they're more than welcome to text me. Marilyn, you can put my email, my phone number up too. It's
Oh yeah.
317-418-2076. I have a lot of the younger generation that likes to text. And we've had coaching sessions strictly by text. I don't have a
Do
problem with that.
you? Do I have your
Yes.
right phone number here now? Oh, I know what's wrong. I don't have my glasses on. There.
Uh-uh.
Maryland. uh 317-418-2076.
Yes, ma'am. And
Yeah.
being able to go ahead and let people know about your conference, Sister Marilyn,
Oh
because that's
yeah.
going to be a
Oh
powerful conference
yeah.
to be able to do that. All these different
Absolutely.
things that are
That's
coming
just
up
going to
so that
begin the
we can.
beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have our weekly Saturday evening Altar to the Throne Tabernacle Prayer encounter. And so even if you're not available on Saturdays because you out and about, you can always find us on Facebook or YouTube to get some inspiration and be covered in prayer. We believe that prayer changes everything, and I believe that we should pray without ceasing for everyone, including ourselves. And so join us on Saturday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 8 p.m. East Coast. And we're getting ready for upcoming retreat October 11th to 13th, 2014. And that will be Resuscitation, Colorado. We're going to be
Yep,
doing some
that's it.
CPR on some of y'all. Christ's power restores, Ezekiel 37:4-5. And we looked into the valley of the dry bones. And we're going to be in the valley of Colorado Springs, Colorado, with the mountains all around us. And some of y'all just might need chest compression. Some of y'all just might need a breath, or some of y'all might need a whole shock. Woo! And the power of the Holy Spirit is going to be upon us. We've got some great workshop teachers and presenters and preachers. And so y'all do not want to miss this. Email me, text me if you want to know more about it. 719-421-9105 is my contact information. And we always have room for more conversations. And so if any of you are watching and you have something to say, your voice should be heard. Everybody has a voice. Yay.
Yes,
Tammy, you want
ma'am.
to finish up?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Hopefully, we hear from you again as we come to the next conversation. Everybody, have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Dawn.
Thank you, Miss Tammy.
Thank you, Miss Dunn. You're amazing. I can't hardly wait
Yes,
till you
ma'am.
get to
Thank
Colorado
you.
Springs. Yes. Have a
Yes.
good night.